Hello and welcome to Donington Park for the penultimate rounds of the 2014 Radical SR1 Cup. The championship is certainly hotting up. Before racing got underway, we caught up with some of the main contenders in the championship.
There's two races today and it's very close at the front. So there's 4 or 5 guys who are fighting for the championship at the moment, and the racing is very close. So we need to make sure we finish, most importantly, and secondly, finish well.
Qualifying went reasonably well. I think there's a little bit more I can get out of the car, but happy I got a few good bankers in at the beginning, and I'm looking forward to the race, to be honest. I think that's when I can really put some faster laps in and hopefully make up a few places from a start position. So.
Within a couple of laps we were P1, and then slowly but surely we started dropping down, so my board was reporting P2, P3, P7, P8, and I was starting to get a bit frustrated and a bit worried, and then a P1 came up. And one of the guys was holding his fist out, and I was wondering whether he was trying to make a 0 out of it, because I wasn't sure we had a 0 in the box. So, but I came into Parc Ferme and we got P1, so very late on in the race. But the times, if you look at them, are very close. So it's going to be a very close race.
Yeah, it's been a very close season this year. I mean, the top cars are within a second. Top 10 cars are within a second of each other. There's a few gaps through the pack, but there's definitely bunches and very, very close racing. Qualifying's always been close. It's been hundredths of seconds separating the first 2 or 3 sometimes. So.
There's a bunch of us really at the front who are all pretty much of a muchness, I think, on the track. So it depends really on how the race pans out.
There's been a bit of a threat of rain today, so I'm just discussing tyres. I'm just deciding whether I should put a new set of tyres on or keep them for later in case it's a wet race. So that's one of the discussions I'm having. These tyres I'm on have had a couple of races already, so they're definitely past their best. I was hoping to be a bit higher up and get away with using these basically, but I think I'm going to have to rethink that strategy a little bit today, and the rain will certainly help that decision process.
So with qualifying done and dusted, it's the championship leader Matt Brooks that sits there on pole position with Robert Watkins alongside. Row 2 of the grid is number 11 James Guest and Dave Morgan, and row 3 is where we see car number 21 Chris Carr and championship returnee number 66 Brian Caldwell. That's the order in the front 3 rows of the grid. The grid is fully formed. We're about to get racing underway. We ride on board with the pole sitter and current championship leader Matt Brooks, who by the sounds of things has stalled the car on the grid. He's waving furiously. The red lights are already on. He's trying to fire the engine into life, but the race gets underway and he'll be bracing himself with his fingers crossed that there won't be an impact here. The rest of the field have fouled their way through. He now gets the engine fired into life, and as you can see, there's clear track ahead. That's because already the main pack are starting to feed their way down through the Craner curves on this, the first lap of the race, with Robert Watkins leading the race, having taken the advantage from the outside of the front row of the grid. Robert Watkins has gone through and leads the race in the early stages of this one, with Matt Brooks having left himself an enormous amount of work to do as he now comes in towards the bottom of the old hairpin with clear track ahead of him. That's because the rest of the field are a long way up the circuit. Out of Coppice Corner for the first time, it is number 77 Robert Watkins that leads. Dave Morgan is there in second place. He's got Brian Caldwell though nipping at his heels. Brian has a quick look up the inside, thinks better of it in the early stages of this one as they turn their way through the Fogarty S's for the first time. Further back it gets a little tight though, as just about managing to squeeze his way through goes Darren James there, just avoiding the contact. Into and out of the Melbourne Loop, the lead trio having broken away just a shade. It is Robert Watkins that is leading the race. There is number 69, that is Dave Morgan, who sits there in second place. Right with him though is still Brian Caldwell, the lead trio. It looks as though it's James Guest who's there in 4th position, and I think that's car number 21 Chris Carr that completes the top 5 at this stage. As they head in towards Redgate Corner again, it looks as though Dave Morgan was having a look at trying to take the lead of the race. Wasn't to be by the look of things as they went in towards Redgate Corner. So the order in the top 3 still remains the same as these 550 brake horsepower Suzuki engined machines turn their way through the old hairpin. Dave Morgan with a much quicker run coming out of the old hairpin, as our pole sitter Matt Brooks is having to work his way through the field. Through the Craner curves he comes, trying to pick off the places. That is 1 position gain. Darren James has just been put down a place by Matt Brooks, who is looking to try and make amends for that poor start. The lead trio though back out of the Melbourne hairpin, and well, this time it looks like Dave Morgan is ever closer to our race leader, closes up on the brakes, as does Brian Caldwell behind. 3 as 1 for the lead. The order still remains the same as they feed their way back over the start-finish line. Another lap chalked into the book. If these 3 start to slow each other up, it might just bring the car in 4th position, James Guest, and the one in 5th, Chris Carr, into contention here. Through the right-hander at Redgate Corner, onto the top of Hollywood and plunging down through the right and left sweeps of the Craner curves yet again. Robert Watkins still continuing to lead the race. The driver who has not as yet had a win so far this season. Neither has Dave Morgan in second place. And well, for Brian Caldwell, he competed in this championship last year and is back to it this weekend. Matt Brooks still threading his way through the order, including cars that have spun and are facing the wrong direction at Goddard's. That looked as though it was Wing Commander Andy Green. Robert Watkins pressing on. Looks as though on this lap the gap may well have just come out a shade more between first and second place. Dave Morgan, who was in attack mode a few corners ago, is now almost in defence mode, isn't he? Number 66 Brian Caldwell getting ever closer to him. Down towards the bottom of the Melbourne hairpin, through the right hander they'll go. Robert Watkins leading the race, and now it looks as though Dave Morgan is under pressure from Brian Caldwell, who's getting ever closer to him. Very late on the brakes, diving up the inside comes Brian Caldwell. It looks as though Dave Morgan saw him coming there, left the door open, which means that he regains the place on the way out. They're still side by side, however, as they come over the start-finish line. It is going to be Brian Caldwell, who's on the left of our screen at this stage. Number 66 looking to try and thread his way up from third up to second. He's got the inside line for Redgate Corner and has got the job done. Through goes Brian Caldwell up into second place. Dave Morgan down into third all of the time, whilst number 77 Robert Watkins still leads the race. As they head through the Craner curves, Watkins leads, Caldwell second, then number 69 Dave Morgan's third. We've still got James Guess and Chris Carr completing the top 5 at this stage, but they're not really making an impression on the leading 3. As for our pole sitter, Matt Brooks, and championship leader number 44, he's still trying to thread his way through the field. That's Giles Newby. And looking back at the replay, there comes Darren James diving up the inside of Andy Green, who rotates the car through 180 degrees, and eventually, picking his way through, goes the pole sitter, gaining an extra couple of places. So the lead trio once more up towards right-hander at Goddard's. This time Brian Caldwell attacks for the lead of the race. Very much under pressure is Robert Watkins, who is being run a little bit wide all over the grass on the exit of Goddard's corner. Robert Watkins drops from the lead of the race down into what may well be 4th position. Yeah, he's behind James Guest now, so it's almost 5 for the lead of the race, and it's Caldwell now that leads the race as they turn their way through the right-hander at Redgate Corner. And poor old Robert Watkins, well, he didn't do a great deal wrong there. He was just forced wide and onto the grass. Had to keep his foot in, but he's dropped from the lead down into 4th. So Caldwell leads. Dave Morgan's there in second place. James Guest completing the top 3. And, well, Brian Caldwell, I think, ran a little bit wide there. There's dust. And, yet, on the grass is Brian Caldwell, having just taken the lead of the race. He's thrown it away, rather. As for Matt Brooks, well, he is still trying to gain places and work his way up through the order. Peter Tyler's car is the next that needs dispatching, and you can see just how enthusiastic to gain the place Matt Brooks is. Got a little bit sideways on the way out of Melbourne hairpin. He's got the inside line as they head up towards Goddard's. Peter Tyler is not particularly in a position to be able to defend, so another place gained by Matt Brooks, who catches the oversteer with a little bit of opposite lock on the way out. So hard is he trying. He's still side by side by the look of things as they come over the start-finish line, but he's got the inside line for Redgate Corner, so Matt Brooks should get the job done. Indeed, the black car with the Dayglow flashes in the hands of Peter Tyler is not able to gain the place. So on towards the top of Hollywood goes Matt Brooks, still looking to try and pick up whatever championship points he can here. Comes into Donington Park leading the championship this weekend. With 2 races here and 2 to go at Cadwell Park in Lincolnshire, that will wrap up the 2014 Radical SR1 Championship season. As through shot there goes number 2, which is Marcus Thomas, who started in penultimate position. Chris Carr battling away with Chris Reese, and, well, by the look of things, synchronised spinning up at Goddard's corner. Chris Carr on the circuit facing the wrong way, car number 21. Chris Reese loses a few places, but gets going quicker. Up towards the braking area for Goddard's corner comes our race leader, Dave Morgan, in towards the left-hand corner. Dave Morgan has not had a win as yet this season in the Radical SR1 Championship. That is going to be put to bed today. He comes through in the first of the races at Donington Park and claims the win. James Guest, having picked up places throughout the course of the race, number 11, will finish in second position. James Guest, he'll be pleased with that indeed. And third place should go the way of Robert Watkins in what was a very, very busy race indeed. Confirmation of the results, Dave Morgan takes the win. James Guest was in second, with Robert Watkins completing the podium places. The brothers, Brian and John Caldwell, were 4th and 5th, and Lewis G completed the top 6. 3 very happy looking drivers on the podium. Let's hear from the race winner.
It all sort of seemed to go well for you there. You took the lead on lap 4, and then from there was no real looking back.
No, I was just keeping an eye on who's behind me and just trying to pace myself a little bit, look after the tyres maybe for later, and eventually I think it was James dropping back. I thought, right, okay, it looks like I'm in the bag. You can never sit back just in case you make a mistake, but from there on I thought I might have this one nailed. It was a great feeling.
Looks like they might have touched, yeah?
Hello, sailor.
Saw the 5-second board, put the revs on, realised I'd forgotten to put it in gear, took revs off, put it in gear, put the revs back on again, let the clutch out, just total brainstorm, I don't know why, and I couldn't get it started, so I was waving, and then the red lights came on, and then they went off. By the time I got it all started, the whole field had gone, and I was looking in my mirrors and I saw them coming past me, and I thought, this is going to hurt, and thank goodness they all saw me. So we've got one more race. I think the times that they were doing as well later in the race were a bit hot for us as well, so I don't think even if we'd have got away, we'd have held on to the lead. So we're going to have to do something about the tyres this afternoon. There you go, hey ho, that's motor racing, as they all say.
So Matt Brooks resides on pole position. He'll be looking to make amends, won't he, after the problems in race 1. The red lights are on, lots and lots of revs for Matt Brooks this time. He does not want to stall. He gets away from the start line, but not as well as number 77, Robert Watkins, who from the outside of the front row of the grid looks as though he's taken the lead of the race. And it's a fabulous start from the second row for number 69, which is Dave Morgan, trying to thread his way through up towards Redgate. There's contact between Robert Watkins and Matt Brooks. So the two cars that resided on the front row of the grid, all through the gravel trap goes Matt Brooks. Well, it all came undone as the lights went out in race 1. At least this time he got as far as Redgate Corner, but he's got a similar task ahead of him, having to work his way through the order to try and leave Donington Park still leading this championship. The rest of the field all heading down through the old hairpin for the first time, with Matt Brooks at the tail end of the field. And well, by the look of things, Robert Watkins going nowhere. His car stricken in the gravel trap up at Redgate Corner, and into the lead of the race has gone number 69. That's Dave Morgan that leads the race. Brian Caldwell is there in second position, and who's there in third? It's number 11, which is Chris Carr, who's there in third place. John Caldwell is up into fourth position at the wheel of car number 10, as in single file they turn their way left and right through the Fogarty S's and onto the Grand Prix loop. Out at the old hairpin, Dave Morgan looking to try and push on in the lead of the race. Secured his first victory of the season in race 1 and is already at the front of the pack here in the early stages in race 2. Battles further down through the field. There goes Martin Verity having his own little fight with car number 20, which is in the hands of Mark Crader. As the stricken car of Robert Watkins is removed from the gravel trap up at Redgate Corner. Of course, yellow flags. There'll be no overtaking at that part of the circuit. So as the field foul their way through, still allows our race leader Dave Morgan to pull away if at all he can. Onto the top of the Craner curves go the field. As down at the old hairpin is where we see the rest of the front runners. Number 10, John Caldwell, starting to apply the pressure now to James Guess. He's nipping at the heels of the number 11 car. James Guess, who came into this weekend lying second in the championship. Well, he's third in the race, in danger of dropping to fourth if he's not very careful, because the lead pair have started to get away rather, and James Guess is having to go a little bit defensive here on the run up towards the braking area for the Fogarty S's. Doesn't look as though John Caldwell can quite wiggle his way through and ahead, so he'll have to try and scratch his head and work out where exactly around the 2.5 mile Grand Prix circuit here at Donington Park he might be able to gain a podium position. Out to the old hairpin come the leading pair. As ever, Dave Morgan that leads. Brian Caldwell still there in second place. Then it is James Guess in third. Good fight going on for the final place inside the top 6, as diving up the inside goes Barry Liversidge. Barry didn't have great qualifying, so he's had to work his way through the order from what was 10th position. We ride on board with Matt Brooks, again faced with this unenviable task of having to thread his way through the whole of the field here at Donington Park. And you can see just how evenly matched the cars are in a straight line. The rest of the field all starting to plunge their way back downhill once more. Car number 21 there is the car in the hands of Chris Carr. As he heads through shot, there is number 67 as well. That's the car of Chris Rees. As we ride back on board with Matt Brooks, managing to get up the inside of Andy Green in the approach in towards the old hairpin. There was contact between the two of them. They were wheel to wheel, and well, it looks as though car number 1000, Andy Green, came off the worst. into the braking area for the Fogarty S's. There's the car that sits in 4th position, car number 10, John Caldwell, still looking to try and hang on to the coattails of number 11, James Guess, ahead of him. Our race leader, though, well and truly up the road is Dave Morgan. This is the fight now that's beginning to brew for 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th positions, rather. Number 11, James Guess, under pressure from John Caldwell, number 10, who, despite being close, is still not quite close enough, is he? And the fight for the final place inside the top 6 is being fought over as well. You can see just how close those two cars were. So round through Redgate Corner once more. James Guess being kept very busy indeed. Good haul of points is what James Guess would like from this weekend, lying 2nd in the championship. And with the issues that Matt Brooks has been having, well, he's on course here to outscore the championship leader, which would mean that the championship title would close up as they head towards the final couple of races at Cadwell Park in a few weekends' time. Well, what was a pair for 3rd and 4th is now almost a quartet, isn't it? Because number 7 has joined in on the act as well. That is John Glendenning, who has come up from 14th position on the grid as John Caldwell gets up the inside of James Guess, takes 3rd place away. James Guess now is going to have to defend as well as attack at the same time. It looks as though he is going to lose possibly 2, maybe even 3 places here, because John Glendenning looking as though he'd got up the inside heading in towards the Melbourne hairpin, and a spin unfortunately for James Guess. Yet clearly there's been something that's happened just out of sight down there at the old hairpin, because James Guess has not reappeared. We'll have to guess what happened to James. So the order has shuffled. That now means up into 3rd position comes John Glendenning from 14th on the grid, and you can see just how much further up the road the leading pair are. It is still Dave Morgan that leads. It is still Brian Caldwell who is there in 2nd place. Then it's John Glendenning who's the cork in the bottle, rather, as he sits there in 3rd with this train of cars all not overly far behind. Down through the crane of curves they head. Number 67, Chris Rees, is sitting down towards the bottom of the top 5. And there in 6th position is car number 6, that being Barry Liversidge, another driver who's had work to do in this race. Started 10th. Out of the Melbourne hairpin, up towards the conclusion of yet another lap, still with John Glendenning hanging on to that 3rd position, despite the very close attentions of number 10, John Caldwell. But it does look as though it is going to be a 2nd win here at Donington Park for Dave Morgan. Having not claimed a win previously this season, he walks away from Donington Park having done the double. Brian Caldwell is there in 2nd place, and it is just going to be John Glendenning who comes through in 3rd place, from Chris Rees in 4th, Barry Liversidge in 5th, and it looks like Martin Verity in the distance completes the top 6. 2 frantic Radical SR1 championship races here at Donington Park. And, well, with the issues that Matt Brooks has had, that man there, it does mean he will still be leading the championship. But the championship is ever closer as they head towards Cadwell Park. Confirmation of the results: Dave Morgan won the race. Brian Caldwell was 2nd, ahead of John Glendenning, Chris Rees, Barry Liversidge and Martin Verity, who completes the top 6. A very, very happy looking driver heads to the top step of the podium. It's the double for Dave Morgan. Despite a difficult weekend at Donington Park, it's still Matt Brooks that leads the championship. He's now on 203 points. Dave Morgan moves up to 2nd in the championship, only 2 points ahead though of James Guess, who's there in 3rd.
So the sun is setting here at Donington Park, and we've had a great day's racing in the Radical SR1 Cup. 2 wins for Dave Morgan, his first 2 of the season. Matt Brooks, the championship leader though, had a fairly torrid day. It means as we head to Cadwell Park for the final rounds, the championship battle is even closer.